So let's go through verses 15 through 19 right now, where we're going to see that Moses escapes to Midian um, for what he did to the Egyptians. And it reads in verse 15, "When Pharaoh heard this matter, he sought to kill Moses, but Moses fled from the face of Pharaoh and dwelt in the land of Midian. And he sat down by a well. Now the priest of Midian had 7 daughters, and they came and drew water, and they filled the troughs to water their father's flock. Then the shepherds came and drove them away, but Moses stood up and helped them, and watered their flock. When they came to Reuel their father, he said, 'How is it that you have come so soon today?' And they said, 'An Egyptian delivered us from the hand of the shepherds, and he also drew enough water for us and watered the flock.'" So at this point, Moses ran away from Pharaoh because Pharaoh sought to kill him. He probably felt at this point that his calling to be leader over Israel and the deliverer of Israel was not to happen anymore, just from the events that occurred. And he dwelt in the land of Midian because at this time that was about the only place he could go. The Egyptian king, he had treaties with all the other lands surrounding them, in what today would be considered Syria. So he comes to this well, and he's sitting there, and he helps the 7 daughters of Midian. Midian describes the area on both the west and the east side of the Red Sea in what is both Saudi Arabia and Egypt currently. The priest of Midian had seven daughters. Finally coming to Midian, Moses met the daughters of a priest of Midian, likely a descendant of one of Abraham's other children, which you can refer to Genesis 25 verses 1 through 2 and check that out. Because of this connection with Abraham, we have good reason to believe that he was a true priest and he worshipped the true God. So God led Moses to this specific family at this very specific time. In Egypt, Moses enjoyed the life of a royal person, of someone who was privileged and didn't really have to be a servant, but had servants. And at this point, when he's watering the flock, it is Moses' time to be a servant, and he proves to do very well at it. Okay, now let's move on to verses 20 through 22, where we're going to see that Moses is accepted into the family of the priest of Midian. And verse 20 reads, "So he said to his daughters, 'And where is he? Why is it that you have left the man? Call him, that he may eat bread.' Then Moses was content to live with the man, and he gave Zipporah his wife to Moses. And she bore him a son, and he called his name Gershom. For he said, 'I have been a stranger in a foreign land.'" Moses was content to live with the man. By taking a wife and having a son, Moses seems to give up on Egypt and his hope of being a deliverer for Israel. Moses was content where God had him at the time, and that's exactly what God wanted, is for him to come to a point of being humble. We kind of make a mistake when we think that the time that he spent in Midian was a time of waiting. Instead, these were Moses' working years. He probably had never worked more in his life than he did in Midian at this point. Moving on to the last two verses, verses 23 through 25, we're going to see that God remembers Israel and he turns their attention to them. And we read in 23, "Now it happens in the process of time that the king of Egypt died, that the children of Israel groaned because of the bondage, and they cried out. And their cry came to God because of bondage. So God heard their groaning, and God remembered his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. And God looked upon the children of Israel, and God acknowledged them." So God hears their groaning, and God remembers them. If Moses forgot about Israel and Egypt in the sense of turning his active attention away from them, God didn't. God remembered Egypt, or God remembered his people in Egypt, and he focuses his attention toward them and their afflictions, all that they had to bear under the Egyptian rule. God remembers his covenant with Abraham, with Isaac, and with Jacob. God did not turn his attention to Israel because they were such good people, but because the covenant he made with them previously through their ancestors. He gives us his love and his attention to us on the same basis. The relationship that we have through God is through Jesus, and he sent Jesus down to us to save us from our sins and to save us from ourselves. And you're going to see here within these next few chapters how he uses Moses in a similar fashion, but Moses isn't quite the perfection that Jesus is. So thank you for your time, and thank you for watching, and God bless. Have a good day.